Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back, and thank you for joining us. We are glad that you're here. I'm Steve,
And I'm Scott.
and together we're Backyard Musings, the Science
Yeah,
and Technology channel.
yeah. And we were just talking before we started taping that this is a troubling story. It kind of goes against everything that we've been talking about health wise for a couple of years now, and just very troubling. So let's get into it.
And just in case you don't know, we broadcast 7 a.m. and 1 p.m. Monday through Saturday. We take the Sabbath day off, so we've got new content, and it's always new content every single day.
Yeah.
All right, a lot. This is scary, Scott. Like you said, a large-scale analysis of millions of cancer studies has uncovered patterns suggesting that a significant portion of the literature may not be as reliable as it appears. This is crazy. We pumped out a lot of, well, we're just the messengers, but a lot of articles on cancer research we've talked
Right.
about just this morning. You
Yeah.
know, researchers have built a machine learning tool, probably AI, that spots signs of mass-produced science. And its first major test suggests the scale could be startling. The system flagged more than 250,000 cancer research papers that may be tied to so called paper mills, groups that churn out manuscripts for sale. Would you like to know more?
This should be criminal.
Yeah.
They should be able to go back and find these people and say, hey, what are you doing here? Because this is, I don't know, this is just crazy. The study was led by QUT researcher Professor Adrian Barnett from the School of Public Health and Social Work and Australian Centre for Health Issues and Innovation. Working with an international team, reported in the BMJ, the project reviewed 2.6 million cancer studies published from 1999 to 2024 and looked for repeated writing habits linked to papers that were later withdrawn.
Oh, so they had a sample of withdrawn papers, and so they looked for those kind of habits for writing,
Similarities.
style
Yeah.
of writing.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting. Interesting. Instead of searching for obvious red flags like duplicated figures or impossible data, the tool focuses on language itself. The researchers found more than 250,000 papers whose writing patterns resembled those seen in articles already retracted for suspected fabrication, suggesting that template driven writing can leave behind recognizable traces.
Hmm. This is a quote. Paper mills are companies that sell fake or low quality scientific studies. They are producing research on an industrial scale, and our findings suggest the problem in cancer research is far larger than most people realized. And that's according to Professor Barnett. Paper mills can offer everything from a paid author slot to an entire completed manuscript. To produce work quickly, they may recycle blocks of text, rely on unnatural phrasing, or invent supporting data and images, creating paper that can look plausible at a glance while still being unreliable.
Hmm. Continuing a quote, most likely they're relying on boilerplate templates, which can be detected by large language models that analyze patterns in text, Professor Barnett said. To detect those patterns, Barnett's team trained a language model called BERT, B-E-R-T, it's an acronym, to recognize subtle textual fingerprints that show up again and again in known paper mill products.
When the model was evaluated using verified examples, it correctly identified suspicious papers 91% of the time. Oh my gosh. Pointing to a potential new way to help publishers and researchers decide what deserves closer scrutiny.
So this thought just came to my head. So you're a researcher, and like this morning, the liver, you're doing research on mice, and you want more information that anyone else has done along this field, and you start looking for papers. And what if you inadvertently find a paper mill paper, and it
Sounds like it's
becomes
a good
part of your
possibility.
research?
It sounds like it's a good possibility you will.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's those scientists who just pure science, just go into the lab and they test and they take empirical results. But if you're writing a scholarly paper or publishing your results, assuming you'd want other data that you could look at and compare to what you're seeing.
Well, and again,
Right?
what the ultimate, not the ultimate. I mean, I would hope that there's some people out there that are trying to cure cancer, whatever cancer it is. But there's also people out there that are probably just trying to, the term we used to use when a person that we knew would be going to school for 15 years after they graduated from high school. And it wasn't for a law degree and it wasn't for a medical degree. It was research. So we called them professional students. And how do they survive? Grants, right? The more they do, the more they get recognized, the more money they get sent to them. And so hopefully that's not the situation here, because that would be counterintuitive, I would think, counterproductive.
All right, key findings from the large-scale analysis include flagged papers have increased dramatically over 2 decades, rising from about 1% in the early 2000s and peaking at over 16% in 2022.
The issue affects thousands of journals across major publishers, including high-impact titles.
The problem is most concentrated in fields such as molecular cancer biology and early-stage laboratory research.
Some cancer types, including gastric, liver, bone, and lung cancer, show especially high rates of suspicious papers. That is just scary.
Yeah. 3 scientific journals are already piloting the tool as part of their editorial screening. It will allow editors to identify potentially fabricated manuscripts before they are sent for peer review. The team plans to expand the tool to other fields of research and improve the model as more confirmed cases of paper mill activity become available. They stress the findings are not confirmed cases of research fraud and should be checked by human specialists.
Quote, cancer research influences clinical trials, drug development, and patient care, Professor Barnett said. If fabricated studies make their way into the evidence base, they can mislead real scientists and ultimately slow progress for patients. That's why it's vital we get ahead of this problem. I say, amen to that. And those people, they should be held liable for this kind of stuff. If they're lying about it, putting out false information, that just, you talk about just setting the whole study back. I don't know. Maybe that's why it's been years and years and years and years. They've been trying to study and get something positive out of this whole cancer research, but yet it just doesn't seem to happen. I don't know. It's like war hawks, right?
Yeah.
You know.
Well, we appreciate you joining us, folks. We hope this helped you. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Take care, everyone. Thanks for watching. Have a good afternoon.